I'm your girl, Natasha, and I'm just here. I have a question that I'd like to address or ask, whatever. Um, the girls who are passable, and then you have the girls who are not passable or not as passable, or you would call clocky. Would you passable trans women who have friends who are not as passable, clocky, would you hang out with them? Knowing that, okay, you may go somewhere, and if someone clocks them, they're going to automatically clock you because you're with them. So, that's my question. Would you continue to hang out with them? Because all trans women, we start somewhere in our transition. And it might be some girls who have transitioned. They may not have had work done medically, and they just stop at their transition. They consider themselves transitioned, and they're not as passable. They look like brick, or whatever the case may be. And then you have a passable girl. Now, I've noticed that a lot of passable girls don't want to go out with girls who are clocky because you're afraid that you're going to get spooked, especially if you're in a public place or like New York City on the subway, or if you're going shopping or wherever, just wherever you may be. You feel that if this girl isn't as passable, you don't want to be seen with her. I have a story. It wasn't funny back then, but I'm an older girl, so I would say this was like late 80s, early 90s. I had transitioned, and I was with some girls who weren't so passable. They were clocky, bricky. And we were on the A train in Far Rockaway, New York. And any of you who are familiar with New York and the A train, you know that the first stop is Far Rockaway. And Far Rockaway can be fierce. Okay? Yes, Far Rockaway is fierce. So I will never forget, back then, it really wasn't a word for transgender. They would call you a femme queen or whatever. Well, anyway, me and my friends, they lived in Far Rockaway, and they weren't so passable. And I had transitioned pretty much, and I was passable. But they were my friends. They were fun to hang out with, honey. They were a kiki. We had a ball. And when I was younger, I never really felt like that. Oh, just because you're not as passable. Honey, I didn't care. I was young. I just wanted to have a ball. So we get on the A train at Mott Avenue. I'll never forget it. And the A train starts in Far Rockaway on elevated. And then after a certain period, it goes underground. Grant Avenue. I'll never forget it. So while we were still on the elevated part, going along the beach, some guys got on the train. And I was saying to myself, oh my God, please don't let them spook. Well, they looked at my friends and started saying, yo, man, that's a dude. That's a dude. And I was like, oh my God. And then they looked at me and said, yeah, she's one of them too. She's with them. She's one of them. They all. I was panicked. So me and my girls looked at each other and said, bitch. So they kept harassing us. I mean, it seemed like we'd never get underground because that's where we were going to get off that train and take off. And so they started calling us names. The train would stop and get fuller and fuller with people, and they were just going off. People looking and laughing because these guys are showing out and saying all sorts of insults. So I told my girls, look, when that train hits Grand Avenue Underground, we're getting off the train. So we slightly and politely got up and got by the door. And they got up. And I said, oh shit, girls, what's going to happen? I says, well, look, bitches, when that train stops and the doors open, make a run for it. So that's what we did. Mind you, there's no overpass. Some stations have an overpass where you can walk. Well, this station didn't. So you had to walk up outside. When we got outside on the platform, I said, girls, if we go out, they're going to follow us. So we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? So one of my girlfriends, she's crazy. That bitch was crazy. I love her. God bless her. Rest in peace. But she said, girl, let's go across to the other platform. Mind you, there's no overpass. So I said, well, bitch, how are we going to get over there? She said, girl, jump on them tracks and we're going to cross. I said, but the third rail. She said, we're going to climb. We're going to step over it very lightly and not touch a thing. It's either get our ass kicked by those guys or go across to the other platform and we have a better chance of getting away. Because these guys were hooligans or whatever you want to call them. And they wanted trouble. So my other two girlfriends, they didn't want to do it. They ran into the bathroom. Big mistake. So me and my other girlfriend, I'm an adventurous bitch back then when I was younger. So I got on the train. I got jumped down on the platform with my girlfriend and we tipped ever so slowly over the third rail. And we finally got across to the other side. So I said, girl, they might come out. They might come in go out in the street and come down on the other side. We were like, bitch, let's go. So luckily, Port Authority police were there. And I stopped them and I was like, officers, you've got to help us. There's some guys after us. They're trying to rob us. They're trying to do, I don't know, whatever. Oh, what is that? So the officer said, miss, calm down. And the guys some of them were still across. The others ran in the bathroom. And so it scares me thinking about it. And so they said, miss, calm down. You're calm. They're not going to bother you. So the police officers walked us out and the guys scattered. Now, mind you, two of our other girlfriends were missing. So we were like, girl, what happened to them? And then my friend said they ran in the bathroom. So we went down the block and waited. We said, hopefully they'll come out. So eventually, I would say about 15, 20 minutes, they came out. And my girlfriend, she had a watch on. And it's not funny. That watch was missing. And she swore out that she lost that watch. Those guys took that watch, took her pocketbook. I mean, I will never forget that experience. But I was young then, and those were my girls, and whether they look clocky or not or whatever, I didn't care. Because if you were my girl, I was going to hang with you no matter what. I didn't care what you look like. You could look like Planet of the Apes, but if you were my girl, we hanging. But there's a lot of girls who aren't like that. They're this, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm not hanging with her, I'm not getting turned down, blah, blah. So, what I'm trying to say is, to some of you trans women who are passable, do you avoid hanging with girls who are clocky, bricky, or do you pay it no mind and don't care what people say? It was just something that crossed my mind. And I just had to pose that question. So like, subscribe, share, and until the next time. Mwah.